You have a publication that you just co-authored, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things you just mentioned was like misdiagnosing. So I wanted to tap into that. Like, what are some of the things that, or some of the common misdiagnoses that we potentially have as Black men, like when we go into whether it be therapy or any other modality for healing? What are some of the things that we commonly get misdiagnosed?
Yeah.
Why is it a problem?
And that's a great question, because oftentimes, especially we know historically, Black men are often diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Right? And that's easy. Okay, let me just give them that diagnosis without truly assessing what the environment they're in, why they're feeling that way, why they're responding that way. And knowing that anxiety shows up also with anger. Depression also shows up as anger. And that's something I talk about with Black men, that oftentimes you may not realize it, that you may be depressed because you could be overeating, you could be undereating. Over-sexualized is also, we find different ways to cope. Right? So it's not just a cookie cutter way. So truly unpacking and really doing kind of the historical data before we just make these quick assessments. Oh, he's angry, bipolar disorder, without truly getting to a true assessment. So that's hurtful, that's damaging, because now this person is being treated for diagnosis they don't have. So all these years, oh, you have bipolar disorder. No, they may be dealing with trauma. They may be dealing with PTSD, right? Black boys, ADHD, first diagnosis. Not taking into account trauma that they're going through. Trauma also shows up as mood swings, as irritability, as aggression, right? Growing up in a tough environment, growing up in a difficult neighborhood, a situation that happens in your childhood. Some type of situation that could occur, right? That can often cause a shift in mood. But again, misdiagnosis. So now this young man is being diagnosed with ADHD and getting medication, or just going down this road that they don't need to go down if they're appropriately diagnosed. That can change the whole trajectory of somebody's life.
No, for sure. I can imagine. And I'm thinking right now about the mothers that have the young boys that potentially maybe like, you know, having problems with behavior in school, got the ADHD diagnosis. So like, what would you say to them that are like in the middle of that, and their child may be like going through the ADHD like diagnosis process, and they may not be sure on whether that's actually a thing? Like, how would they dive deeper to really understand whether it's ADHD or something else?
So I work a lot with young Black boys. That was because everybody's like, yo, go see the Black therapist, go see the Black therapist. So one thing when I'm working with children, I want to speak to the parents, and I'm having several sessions with the parents because I want to know auntie, I want to know cousin Pookie, I want to know everybody that engages with this child, because that's, again, I want to get a wide scope. I just don't make an assessment from one conversation. You understand? So I want to know who's involved. Tell me about your upbringing. Tell me how you was as a child. Tell me about his dad, how he was. So I take all of that into account. I take into account environment. I want to know about diet. What are you giving to him for breakfast? That hyperactivity is also about what we eat.
No, that's true.
Right? So again, I'm looking at various areas. When's the last time they had a physical, right? So I'm looking at the biopsychosocial. I'm looking at those 3 dimensions, right? So those are things, and I say, talk to your doctor first. When's the last time you went for a physical? So those things are very important. So I'm looking at turning off the TV. You know what I'm saying? That's stimulation. Everybody's on their phone. Everybody's on their iPad. All of that is stimulated. Right. Also, we don't think about the crib. How does the crib set up? Is it clean? Is it? Confusion can cause chaos, right? So,
oh my God, you about to trigger me
right?
Now.
Those things, right? So those things are important. So, like, is things orderly? Does your child have specific schedule? Do they know what to expect, or are they operating from chaos because of you? So, are you chaotic? Is the household chaotic? So now they only responding to that. So there's a number of factors before we talk about medication. So when I'm implementing a treatment plan, I'm like, before we go to medication route, because medication may be necessary and is there for a reason, let's explore all those other options. Let's make some modifications in the household. I'm gonna make some recommendations. Let's make some shift in terms of its diet, because you having Takis and Kool-Aid for breakfast, that's a problem. I'm just saying. What do you expect? So what are you having for breakfast, right? If it's high sugar and all of those things, syrup, all of the right. So we have to look at some lifestyle changes, and it's going to benefit the entire family if we're all eating a little bit better, right? Yeah. And if you see some changes, it's like, you know what, I really looked at that. Change the diet a little bit, some more water, less juice. You know what I'm saying? We operate more on the schedule. You know what I'm saying? They not in like 10 activities. Let's bring it down to 3 activities. Like, and then there's allowed time for play, right? So just doing whatever, right? So it's very helpful to kind of give those recommendations before we go down the route of like, all right, they need medication. Before I exhaust all of that, then I may say, you know what? Let's explore that and see how it could benefit it.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, bro, I can express myself and I can still beat you up. Like, if like we don't need
if push come to shove, right?
You know what I'm saying? I can still beat you. I can still protect myself. We don't need to like make it like so black and white. But I think oftentimes that's what ends up happening. But I want you to dive into like couples a little bit because that's such an interesting topic for me. You talked about having a guy in a relationship that's in a relationship with potentially with a woman, right? And he's not as emotionally, maybe not as emotionally intelligent or expressive. What ends up happening in those type of sessions, and like, what did you mean by like, is she your homie or is she your girl?
Well, one I saw with the last one is that because the way of communication is more kind of an aggressive type, right? So or expecting her to not be as emotionally inept or aware, right? So I'm like, what is your expectation? She want to have questions, she want to talk to you, she want to communicate, and we may not have the tools to do that, or it shows up differently. Right. It looks different. Right. So part of the conversation is one, meeting each other where they are, right, and really unpacking what do they mean. Sometimes we have to decode, right, what somebody's saying. Right, so it's like you ain't come home last night, right? Or I'm trying to reach you, I didn't get you. That could be I'm concerned about you, right? But we hear it as, yo, why you checking for me? Like, yo, why you nagging me for? Right. So sometimes it's like, well, I was scared. Yo, you're a black man driving in these streets. I didn't hear from you. Right. Right. But that could be what sometimes come out like she may not articulate that clearly. Right. So sometimes I say, so what do you think she meant by that? Well, I know she's worried about me. So then why are you responding like that if she's worried about you? And accountability. What could you have done to make sure that she wasn't worried about you? Right? So sometimes we can just unpack some, and that could derail a lot of arguments. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If we just really just put our empathetic hat on. And I was talking to my man Trey about like being friends, like maintaining that friendship with your partner. Yeah. We lose that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We lose that friendship. We lose why we got with that person, why we connecting with them. Yeah. And it's just clouded by drama and trauma. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you speaking now. I like this. I like where the conversation is going for sure. One of the things, when I was in couples with my girl and we were like we were good. Right? I wanted to do the couples because I wanted to see like there's some things that we can unpack and like work on together. And one of the things that my couples therapist would tell us is like assume positive intent. And I feel like oftentimes like when we're in relationships, because we're not assuming that the person we're with is like coming from a good place, it leads to like an assumption of like
it does. It does. But here's the thing: after you've kind of severed those good intentions, right? Yeah. With a whole bunch of BS, over time, you're thinking the negative. Because that's my kind of approach too, right? So I'm like, remember why you got together? Yeah. I'm like, y'all really, like some people really are sleeping with the enemy. Emotional enemy, right? There's like the connection is not really there, but you're still sleeping with them, you're still in a relationship with them, but that trust is gone. And that's a difficult kind of situation to be in. Right? Like you're stuck. Like I love them, but I don't trust you no more. All the good intention is gone. All I see is bad intentions.
Oh man.
So how do you repair and restore that when you've been let down so many times?
One thing I love doing when I'm sitting with black men that are married, I feel obligated to ask, like, what's one of the things that you feel like is super important to making a marriage work? And I'm literally, actually, one of my friends is about to get married, like literally in a couple of days.
Wow.
And so I'm just in marriage mood right now.
Right.
So,
I love to see that. I love to see, people taking that step, that commitment. One of the biggest things I would say is be open to be empathetic. Definitely listen. Patience. And I say a lot that you guys are wearing the same jersey, right? So you're on the same team. How do you want the marriage to win, right? So we have to kind of lose the ego sometimes and recognize that even if, you know what I'm saying, and I look at strengths. My wife has strengths in certain areas and I have strengths in certain areas. So what's going to be the kind of the best thing so that the Muller family could win? And that's the kind of place that I operate from. You know what I'm saying? I learned financial stuff from her, just in terms of like how she kind of operated in terms of finances. I was like, all right, I could adapt that. I could take tools from there.
Yeah.
And from me, she learned kind of chill a little bit. She was like, all right, step back. You know what I'm saying? Because she was definitely operating like, nah, I could do this, I could do that.
Doing everything, basically.
Yeah.
Too much.
Right. So, she had a PhD at 28. You understand?
She's
so,
violent.
yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, So she was like, she's saying, learning that, that I don't have to do it all.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Operating as a team.
Yeah.
I like that. That's the hardest part, especially if you've been operating from doing things for yourself a long time, right? Because even me, like, if I wanted to get a bottle of water, I would just go and get it. Because she was like, you never asked me for anything. So, like, I had to, like, condition myself to say, can you pass me that water? Because we're two self-sufficient people. So being intentional, I say, can you pass me that water right there?
Yo, you know what's so crazy about that, bro? I'm thinking about my relationship with my girl. And I remember she was like, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, babe, like, bro, I'm good, bro. Like, I literally, anything that I want to get, I can, if I really want it, I can go and get it, bro. Like,
well, I'm not that self-sufficient because I'll have a list. I'm like, oh, word, let me put on my phone real quick because I had this stuff.
That's mad funny. But nah, I was just thinking about like what you were saying about like being able to like rely on your partner.
Yeah.
I'm so used to just like, especially as a man, just going and getting it myself anyway.
Right.
That when she asked me like, what do you want for your birthday or what are you interested in getting? I'm like, bro, like I don't need you to do anything or get anything because I'm already getting it for myself, you know? And so like I'm trying to adapt the mindset like it's okay to talk about some of the things that I want and like to give her potentially a list of things that I'm interested in getting. I don't have to always get everything because I think it creates a healthy dynamic in a relationship where you can rely on your partner.
Right, and that's key. Yeah, right. In support and that translates not only to things but emotional, right? Emotional support. So as Black men, we carry a lot. We internalize a lot, and we might express it to our boys in the barbershop or or somewhere else. But when you can speak to your partner that way, it definitely kind of allows them to see another side of you, that emotional vulnerability.
Yeah.
And to go into, sometimes men may be afraid of that because of one, it being thrown up in their face.
Yeah.
And I say you kind of have to step out on fear because you can't operate from a space of fear when we in committed relationships because you're not giving your authentic self.